Hey everyone, I hope you've had a great week. So, this week again, I want to use a screenshot to take you through what I hope will be helpful as you're putting your finishing touches on your first genre piece. As I mentioned and hopefully clarified, for this assignment, you need to do a genre whose primary purpose is narrative. Now, that doesn't mean you might have some sub purposes of persuasion in it or information, but the primary purpose of the genre piece is to tell a story about something. So, here we have a student who told a story about gratitude. That was his focus, and he chose as a memoir excerpt. And notice that he has arranged about 3 sections. So make sure that you have a fair amount of content when you're doing it. A memoir is not 3 paragraphs. Same thing if you're doing a short story, anything, look at the conventions of it and be sure you're approximating it. Now, I'm not expecting a full memoir of 300 pages, but a decent sized memoir excerpt that gets us in the mind of the narrator. Now, keep in mind that this is a research based class, so what you want to make sure you're doing is not just telling your own story in isolation. If you want to tell your story because perhaps you're doing something on a subject that you are a first hand expert on, that's fine, but make sure somehow it's informed by research. You've thought about research. As you compose your pieces, think about who is the narrator? Whose perspective am I telling it from? Who's my audience? What do I want to emphasize to my audience? So you have your genre piece that you've hopefully figured out and are crafting. And then the other important part is the author's statement. And here we have what I consider a very good author's statement. First off, kinds of talks about why he likes that particular genre. Here, Michael tells us that he tried to use real stories to illustrate points he found in his research. Tells us about his intended audience. Remember, intended audience cannot be everyone in the world. It should be a narrow focus. So these are people who are skeptical about how gratitude can improve their lives, who want to be happier but don't know how to change, and people looking to become more grateful. A very specific audience. He talks about a purpose in there and talks about some ways research connects. Additionally, notice how research ties in later. Here, the narrator talks about, or the composer in this case, here I intentionally gave a sense of my new involvement with other people and the community of the school because increased pro-social motivation is one of the things research has shown about people who practice gratitude and gives the source it came from. So throughout, notice how research is integrated, which is a key part of this. Notice how he's talking about what he's trying to illustrate throughout. And notice too how rhetorical appeals are used. And not only just says, I used ethos and pathos, but talked about how. I use ethos because writing own experiences. Pathos is central, creating the emotional atmosphere so that the reader feels this. And notice that this closes with a works cited, works that he has cited in his narrative genre. I hope that this is clear enough. Please don't hesitate to email me with any questions or concerns, and I really look forward to reading everyone's first major compositions. Have a fabulous week.